Well, by now I figure you already know what the Flynn verdict was, and I want to give you a little clarification on things and show you the actual documents. You know me, I love the documents. So stick with me and we'll see it all in just a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthfication Chronicles, and Wednesday I decided to take a little bit of time away from the computer, and guess what? That was like the worst day in the world to ever do it because so much happened on Wednesday. I recorded a video on Wednesday night, but it was massively long because I had two different topics that I was covering. I thought I could get them in a much shorter time, and that didn't work. So I'm splitting them up, and this is the first one, and then I'll have the second one. Who knows when it'll come out? Probably not until Friday morning, but that's all right. Here we go. First of all, by now, I'm sure you know about the Mike Flynn stuff. We're going to get to that in just a minute, but there are a couple things else that happened yesterday on the 24th that I think you need to be aware of. And the first one is this. Yes, Julian Assange has been charged in a superseding indictment. Another one. So a federal grand jury returned a second superseding indictment today, that'd be the 24th, charging Julian P. Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, with offenses that relate to Assange's alleged role in one of the largest compromises of classified information in the history of the United States. The new indictment does not add additional counts to the prior 18-count superseding indictment returned against Assange in May of 2019. It does, however, broaden the scope of the conspiracy surrounding alleged computer intrusions with which Assange was previously charged. According to the charging document, Assange and others at WikiLeaks recruited and agreed with hackers to commit computer intrusions to benefit WikiLeaks. So, you can read the rest of this about what it was, and then I will give you a link to down below for the document here. This is the actual indictment that was returned from the Eastern District of Virginia, and these were the ones that they were talking about. And this was a second superseding indictment. And, you really need to probably go through and read this. I know that a lot of people, it's kind of up in the air when it comes to Julian Assange. Some people think that he was wrong in some of the things that he published, and then other people don't think that he did anything wrong. So I know that there's a lot of differences of opinion out there about it. But if you read through this, I think they make a good case for what they presented. And when you have a grand jury, the grand jury, it doesn't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. All they have to prove is probable cause. And it's not a unanimous decision by the grand jury. It just has to be a majority vote. So it could be that it was a close vote. We don't know. We will never know probably. But we do know that this is what happened. And at this point, he is still in Great Britain. It says down here, Assange is currently detained in the United Kingdom on an extradition request from the United States. Assange's extradition to the United States is being handled by the Department of Justice's Office of International Affairs and UK authorities, including the Home Office and the Crown Prosecution Service for England and Wales. So, and then here's where you can get the indictment under national security. So whether you think he's innocent or guilty, this is a key thing that's going to be playing into everything we're going to see when all the indictments are unsealed. So I wanted to present that to you. Plus, there's something else that's kind of connected to it, and that would be that the family of Seth Rich has done something here too. They've sent a letter out. Evidently, I know of the one lawsuit that they have against Matt Couch, but I didn't know about this one. They have one against Fox News. And so they're trying to get documents from Fox News to prove that Ed Butowski and Rod Wheeler were creating this conspiracy theory about Seth Rich. Well, we know it's not a conspiracy theory, and that they go through and they just basically are asking for these documents that are trying to prove what they want to prove in court. So I wanted to present that to you to show that the wheels of justice are moving, and we see that things are happening in both of these cases that will eventually come together, and they're going to intersect in a way that's going to be beneficial to all of us because it's going to reveal a lot of things. So then I wanted to show you this. Yeah, guess what? Here's Peter Strzok's lovely handwriting. It's pretty bad, isn't it? Well, in case you couldn't read it, up here is where it really is. This is pretty much what they have. And you'll see here that he's talking about the NSA, and he's talking about the Deputy DAG, other countries, Flynn cuts under other countries. But then notice this, VP, Logan Act. Guess what Joe Biden suggested they do with Flynn? They get him on the Logan Act. So when Joe Biden is out there on the different things, well, he's not out there, he's still in the basement. But whenever you hear him talking to some news person and they ask him about it, he says, oh, I didn't know anything. He's doing his Sergeant Schultz impression. I know nothing. I see nothing. So, but he did, because he's the one that suggested the Logan Act. And then you go on. The P here's President Obama, and these are unusual times. And then, Biden jumps in and says, I've been on the Intel Committee for 10 years, and I have no idea what he never did. But then Obama says, make sure you look at things and have the right people on it. Yeah, so the day before we know for sure that the Flynn thing, the FBI said, nah, there's nothing here. It should be case closed. And then all of a sudden on the 5th, the next day, have the right people on it. Yeah, the right people to do what? It should have already been closed. So if it was already closed, have the right people on it mean people that are going to get Flynn. And then Obama also said, is there anything I shouldn't be telling the transition team? That right there is a huge problem, because there's absolutely nothing that an outgoing president should not tell an ingoing president. Nothing. Anything that he doesn't tell to the new president, it's wrong. Totally. He should have told Trump about this. And when he didn't, when he kept things back, right there shows intent. And so we have this information now that clearly shows that Obama was not only part of planning this against Flynn, but he was, because we know he didn't like Flynn, right? We all know that. That was back in 2014. He already didn't like Flynn because Flynn was trying to keep him from doing what he wanted to do with Iran. And then we have here all the evidence that shows that not only did Obama know about what was going on with Flynn, but that he wanted the right people, and I put that in air quotes, right? The right people on it, and that he wasn't going to tell some things to the transition team, that he was withholding information from the incoming president. All of that to me shows an intent to get rid of Flynn and to sabotage the Trump administration. So this is the Federalist article here, and they go through and talk about it and what the ramifications are. I will put the link to this down below because I think it's really important for you to share this on social media. Remember the whole digital soldiers thing? This is what you do. This is how you do it. You put this out for other people to see, because it's very likely that many people in your social circle, even if they are conservatives, are probably not seeing a lot of this information. So the more we get it out, the more likely they are to see the reality of the situation that went on and understand why it's so important that this is taken care of in a legal way and what Barr is actually doing. And here's the notes. I think it might be even beneficial maybe to take a screenshot of the notes and to send that around to your friends and let them see it. There is stuff that's redacted. You can see that there and down here. I don't know what's redacted. I have no idea. But you got to wonder what's underneath there. And I think it's probably even worse, and probably being used for grand jury information, and that might be why it's classified, or maybe they said stuff about national security things, I don't know. But here is the big news about Mike Flynn. This came from the United States Court of Appeals, and you remember we talked about this, and we talked about Henderson was a Bush appointee. Wilkins was the Obama guy who tried to make it about racism or something when he was asking questions. It was really bizarre. And then the Rao is the one that Trump appointed. So evidently, this is what they ordered right here. Upon consideration of the emergency petition for a writ of mandamus, the responses thereto, and the reply, the briefs of amici curiae in support of the parties, and the argument by counsel, it is ordered that Flynn's petition for a writ of mandamus be granted in part. And I don't know what that in part means there. I don't understand that exactly, but I don't know if there's more to this or not. This is all I've seen. The district court is directed to grant the government's Rule 48A motion to dismiss, and the district court's order appointing an amicus is hereby vacated as moot. Okay, so that means what Gleeson was doing, he was preparing that amicus curiae and everything. Oh, well, that's moot. They say, yeah, it's been vacated, so we don't care about your amicus brief. No, no, no. Oh, in accordance with the opinion of the court filed herein this date, and this was dated the 24th. So there we are. That is the order to dismiss the case. That says, Judge Sullivan, you gotta dismiss it. All right. That's the end of the story, right? Oh, no. Not necessarily. Now, I wanted to show you this from Zero Hedge because Flynn's dismissal order thoroughly demolishes dissenting judges' opinion. So, if you see here, update, Missouri Appellate Attorney John Reeves has weighed in on today's decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals for D.C. ordering Judge Emmett Sullivan to grant a DOJ request to drop the case against Michael Flynn. The opinion, authored by one of the three judges on the panel, Naomi J. Rao, who was the Trump appointee, thoroughly demolishes a dissenting opinion by Judge Robert Wilkins. Are we surprised that he dissented? No. Who Reeves, and that's the guy, John Reeves here, that was weighed in on this decision. And he says, was so off base that he shot himself in the foot when it comes to any chance of an en banc review, in which the Flynn decision would be kicked back for a full review by the D.C. Appellate Court. So there she is, and, she just basically said that's it. Well, this guy, he did join in. If you want to see that, you can read his opinion there. So I thought it would be good to give you this, and he gives why he thinks it should be totally over and it's all gone. I mean, it should be. If you want to read that, I'll leave it down below. That goes into a little more of the legalities and stuff. Things are not always as we see because, guess what? Yeah, Margot Cleveland, unfrickin' real. So she has this, and guess what we've got? Well, if you haven't been following the Flynn case, here's actually the court listener. You can go through and see all the documents. You can see them all. Here we are. But here is what's happening now, because now Gleeson, the guy that was writing that amicus curiae brief that Judge Sullivan told him to write, well, guess what? He's filed this, and he says a request for clarification and motion for extension of time to file reply brief. It's like, who cares? It's a moot point. But oh no, he doesn't think so. And he basically says that, here we are, my reply brief has been completed and it is ready to be filed. Well then, maybe you should have filed it. I think he's ticked off because he put all that work into his brief and now he doesn't get to include it. So it says, however, earlier today, the D.C. Circuit granted Mr. Flynn's petition for a writ of mandamus in part, directing the court to grant the government's Rule 48A motion to dismiss and vacate its order appointing me as amicus curiae. Yes, it did. So suck it up. You're done. But oh no, he's not going to accept that. Under the D.C. Circuit's rules, an order or judgment granting or denying the relief sought will become effective automatically 21 days after issuance in the absence of an order or other special direction of this court to the contrary. And that is the rule. Because the D.C. Circuit can depart from this rule and give its order immediate effect by saying so explicitly, and there's the case for that, and it would have this in it if it did, further ordered that this order become effective immediately, but has not done so in this case. I believe this court's orders appointing me and directing me to file my reply brief today remain in effect. The writ is not yet in effect, and it is conceivable that further proceedings in the circuit court may prevent it from taking effect. So he hasn't given up yet. On the other hand, I do not wish to show disrespect for the Court of Appeals by filing my reply brief in the face of a decision directing this court to vacate the order appointing me as moot. Accordingly, I seek guidance from the court in that regard. Specifically, in light of the direction issued this morning by the Court of Appeals, I request clarification as to whether my reply brief should be filed. In addition, I respectfully request an extension of time to file the reply brief until this court has provided such clarification. In the interest of filing this request as promptly as possible, I have not conferred with counsel for the government or Mr. Flynn regarding this request. So he just bypassed Sydney and bypassed the government, the DOJ, and says, yeah, I'm just going to put this in because I did all the hard work on this brief and you're not going to keep me from putting it in because it could still be overturned. I got 21 days. So, folks, it's not over yet. Oh, there he is, John Gleeson. I just can't believe that they're trying to string it out. Well, I can believe it because I know it's all about the election and they're trying to string it out for that. But anyway, so it's not over yet, folks. But it was really encouraging yesterday. You probably already heard about this. But yeah, he was on Rush. Flynn called in on Rush. And it just so happened that I was on my way to the doctor's and I was in my car. I get in and Rush comes on, and it was really nice to hear Rush because the other guys do a good job, but they're just not Rush, So it was like, oh yeah, Rush is on today. And all of a sudden he gets a phone call and it's from Flynn. And I think he was totally flabbergasted about it too, because he was like, the real Flynn? So it was exciting to hear. And if people saw me in my car, they probably thought I was going crazy because I'm like, yes, go Flynn. General Flynn is still under this gag order. He signed the papers as far as I've heard, but the judge hasn't signed it. Emmett Sullivan hasn't signed the papers yet. So it really isn't official until he signs them. And this is still in limbo. He can't talk, but he did come on to say some things. And I really think if you can get a chance to listen to this would be good to listen to. You got this one and this one. I think those would be two good audios to listen to because it was a really good conversation and I was so excited about it. He made a few references to, the 17th letter of the alphabet with a few dark to light comments and thanking people. He didn't use the term digital soldiers, but he came close to it. And he was calling Sydney the guardian angel of justice. So I don't know if there's going to be some memes about that, but there should be. I think they really should get busy at that because I think she's done a really good job and we need to honor her on that because she did a great thing to be able to step in and to take on the government like she has. And it really is encouraging to us as Americans to see that our system is working. It's slow, very slow, but it's working. Okay? So this is the one where he called into Rush. And that was what I heard about, it was about 2 o'clock, I think, in the afternoon. Then he called into Levin, and I don't know what time Levin is on. We don't get him around here. So he called in there, and then he called into Hannity. So the Hannity radio show had him too. He did all three of them. He did the trifecta there. It was great having those three major audiences. And really, with all three of those voices, I think that gave him significant coverage to many, many conservatives. And it was really weird, too, that I was just so happened to be in my car when he called in at Hannity, too. So it was exciting to hear that. And I think it's encouraging that he's speaking out to this degree. Now, he doesn't say anything vital yet, but that we do need to keep fighting, which goes hand in hand with what the 17th letter of the alphabet was posting on Wednesday. And I thought, yep, these guys are working together. There's just no way they can't be. So that was exciting for me, and I think exciting for many people to hear him. Basically, he wanted to thank people that were supporting him and his family, which is most of us here that we've been doing that. I think it's really great that we were able to come and support them in some way, even if we don't know them personally. I feel like we've kind of come around them to be there for them and show them that we're with them. So I thought it was really exciting to hear those, and you can listen to this one too. It has it down here. I didn't include the Hannity one because I didn't find a link to that. So, but I also wanted to point out this. Marcia Blackburn says that Ambassador Rice orchestrated a plot to take down Donald Trump's campaign and General Flynn. Rice abused her power to further her leftist agenda. Today's ruling, and this was as of yesterday on Wednesday, today's ruling highlights the importance of our system of checks and balances. So that was exciting to hear, and I appreciated Marcia Blackburn for that. Well, you know that the 17th letter of the alphabet has been saying take the oath, and you saw my video on that. Well, guess what? There are some people freaking out, and I'm sure you're really surprised that this is from a Rothschild, right? And he just says that they're literally taking this military oath of enlistment. Well, it's not an oath of enlistment. It's an oath not, it says here, they're fighting for Trump and Flynn. No, we're fighting for our Constitution. We're fighting for the separation of powers, the branches being co-equal. We're fighting for the Supreme Court not to legislate from the bench. We're fighting for Congress not to overstep its bounds in regards to the executive branch. We're fighting for the executive branch to be able to hire and fire whoever our president pleases, and that people who are in the executive branch serve at the pleasure of the president because they weren't elected, he was. And so this is really kind of strange, but I thought it was funny that they were saying that. And if you go to that hashtag take the oath, you'll see a lot of people, and it's so encouraging to hear it. It really is. So yeah, more people. It's so funny that they just couldn't stand it, and they were trying to make fun of it and everything else, but it just wasn't working because more and more people were putting it out there. In case you want to hear the whole digital soldiers speech, this is where he said it. And so I'm going to leave the link to this down below. It's about a half an hour long. Very good speech. Very good. And it was something that, encourages us that we have to keep fighting. We have to be very vigilant, and we have to be out there. And really, as he was seeing it at this time, and this was in November 2016, so this was right after the election in 2016, he nailed it because he said, the situation is that we have a press that has really turned on us, and they're not giving us the truth. They're crafting a narrative that they want to have out there, and that we're at the mercy of that narrative to get our news. Well, you know what? We're not anymore, because a lot of us have stepped up, and we've been doing our own research. And it's not just me. Oh, I do just a very little bit. But a lot of people are doing so many things and getting the truth from the documents themselves, watching the hearings, and being part of all of that, so we can make sure that we're understanding what's going on in our government from a personal perspective, instead of getting it filtered through these talking heads that are trying to push their own narrative and their own agenda. I thought, this is a really good speech. You do need to listen to it if you haven't listened to it before. And then just a couple of little things to end up here. First of all, Bill Barr, I like what the Gateway Pundit says here, agrees to testify before the blithering idiots running the House Judiciary Committee. Now, I know there was a hearing yesterday on Wednesday. I didn't get a chance to hear it yet. I've got it in my list of things to watch, but you take a day off and you got so much extra work. It's like teaching school again. I always hated to be sick because then you came back and you had 3 times as much work to do. So yeah, this is just funny. I love that little gif there. But anyway, so he is going to testify, but it's not going to be until July 28th. So who knows what's going to happen before then? Could be a lot of stuff, right? Anyway, and then the last thing I want to leave you with is this, because, the Democrats have finally decided that they will hold an almost entirely virtual presidential nominating convention. And so this should be interesting, because so far they've not done a very good job with online streaming. So we'll see what happens. But I think it being online is going to really sap the energy away from it, because It's so hard to get excited about something like that when you're not there. When you're not there with the people, it's just different. And just watching it is never the same. It's like going to a concert, going to an actual concert, going to an actual Trump rally. It's just not the same as watching it. It's never the same. You don't have quite the same sensation of the atmosphere and the other people and interactions with other people. So important. And I think this is going to be a type thing. I don't think it's going to work well for him. But that's okay. Go for it. Of course, a lot of people don't like their candidate anyway. They're just voting for him because they hate Trump. So, does it really matter? Yeah, it's going to matter. It'd be interesting to see who he's going to choose for vice president. A little scary there, but whoever he chooses is going to actually be running things. Probably it will be pre-recorded. I think there probably will be. And they're going to make it so that Biden doesn't have to talk for very long at any time, because he's not been doing very well on that, that's for sure. So that's what I've got for you on this one. And the next one is going to be on the demise of CHOP. Hope you watch that one, because I've got a couple of things you might not have seen in the news. So I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.